My name is Charles Farrell, Vice President of Public Programs. On behalf of our board, our President and CEO, Juanita Moore, and our staff, we thank you for coming this evening to a very historic and important program. We're delighted to be able to celebrate with you the life and legacy of General Gordon Baker Jr., who lived an exemplary life from youth to his last breath, fighting on behalf of human rights and for the people, and particularly workers and African American workers in auto plants. General Baker was a master organizer, the soul of the drum movement, Dodge Revolutionary Union movement, and certainly continued his fight as he worked for the League of Revolutionaries for a New America. General, at the age of 24, as many of you know, wrote a letter to the U.S. government rejecting the fact that he would fight in what he considered an unjust war on political principles. At the age of 24, he had a very global and political consciousness. We have been able to lift General up in many ways in this community in terms of his getting a scholarship in his name at the University of Michigan, a semester in Detroit, and you'll hear more about that later. Of course, another development which you'll hear about is the General Baker Institute, which promotes political education to uplift the community. We have a very important program this evening that has a convergence around many streams and paths of General Baker, Dr. Martin Luther King, and William Barber, and of course the Reverend Dr. William Barber and Reverend Dr. Liz Theo Harris, who will bring a message that's very important today, particularly very timely in this country. We're at a very critical crossroads. And so we need to hear messages as you'll hear tonight. I'm not going to talk very long. I'd like to start the program by introducing some of the seeds of General. Myself, I'm his cousin. We have actually Crystal Bernard, who lived in General's family as his grandfather. She's a senior at the University Prep Science and Math High School in Detroit. In addition to being a social justice youth fellow at the University of Michigan, she's also a youth intern at Michigan Roundtable for Diversity and Inclusion. This year, she's excited to be in her senior class school president, as well as co-president of her school's Social Justice Club. Social Justice Club. She's been a mentor and participant in the Third 90 Network, an initiative to teach environmental science to urban high schools, and is a MCACA grant recipient here at the Charles H. Wright Museum of African American History. Crystal is the daughter of General Baker and Marion Kramer, and plans to continue her legacy of fighting for equity and human rights. Upon completion of high school, she plans to matriculate to a historically black college or university and receive degrees in political science, education, and law. Her career goal is to create and implement educational policy reforms in Metro Detroit. What a wonderful continuation of the legacy of General Baker. Can you please join me in welcoming Crystal to the stage?
The General Baker Institute is a 501c3 nonprofit organization dedicated to providing educational courses, programs, and activities for the community, and especially the youth. GBI will raise funds to support economically disadvantaged Detroit and Highland Park students in their pursuit of higher education. GBI will study the revolutionary life and contributions of General Gordon Baker Jr. and make widely known the human rights struggles he waged, his organizations he co-founded and supported and guided, his passion for the dialectics of continuing education and praxis. The General Baker Institute will be a center for scholarship and teaching about the history of Detroit and Highland Park, and also be critically exploring their intersection with global transformative movements. GBI will also examine contemporary issues, social movements, and the development and dissemination of educational materials and programs. The victory is in the fight, General Gordon Baker Jr. So, that told you what the General Baker Institute is, but I will tell you a little bit more about who General Baker was. If I had to describe him, I would use the old saying, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. And for him being such a persistent activist shows just how much needed to be fixed. He founded organizations such as UHUR, an African American student organization in Wayne State, Dodge Revolutionary Union Movement known as DRUM, League of Revolutionary Black Workers, and was a co-founder and chairperson of League of Revolutionaries for a New America. Or more relevant to me, he chauffeured me to every softball, basketball, cheer, and guitar practice, as well as making sure homework was done by 4 and dinner was prepared by 6. So he was a revolutionary in many aspects. Hopefully this gives you insights into the lives he has and will continue to touch. Next, I will introduce a video showing General Baker speaking about how the robots wiped out the UAW.
The struggles here in the city of Chicago, it's a long, long story of all the work that was done and the fights that we had, the unity with the community struggles in the community that we had to bring to bear on the struggles inside the shops. Else we wouldn't have survived. The extreme learning experience we went through all these fights. I mean, we would strike one of these plants on a wildcat strike, and the companies just control the course. I mean, it's the same thing in the minefields. I mean, a judge would call the company called the judge, get him out of bed to have an injunction hearing on you. And you'd have to respond. So we learn a lot about who controls what. The lessons are innumerable over and over again about the tactics and the struggles that we had to use, how to broaden it and base our support in the community, that we could fight back and resist, how not to get tied down in fighting the battle on their terms, to establish what terms we're going to fight this battle on and carry it out in our interests and not theirs. All those tactical questions came out of the struggle just for survival inside the shops. And lo and behold, Chicago, by the time we finished most of those battles, then we confronted with this thing where all the robots began to enter the plant. And all the work that you've done to advance your cause inside the plant for jobs and things are now being eliminated in mass by robots. And the whole struggle for equality and stuff at the workforce has been transferred into a struggle for survival. Survival, plain and simple, because we got no way to live. So that poses the questions we got now. Really, I mean, without jobs, how are we supposed to live? There are no jobs on the horizon, but does that mean that a job means that's your ticket to livelihood? I mean, you can't live without a job. Is that the kind of contradiction of the world we're fighting for? Because it's clear to us now that the robots are so much more productive than we were, that they don't need us in the workplace. So now we got to pose questions about how we're going to live in the current world. So you're talking about a real change in the system that we're living under, and from people's perspective of what the jobs have been. So many jobs is used as a discipline in the family. The kids get old up and say, get out and get a job. Well, nah, you gonna do that now, but it ain't none. What I mean? So this whole question of jobs and how we live and what kind of society we're gonna have and who got a right to live and who doesn't, who can eat and who can have a home and who can't. All those questions are being thrown into us as real moral questions that we got to deal with. And even though we fight to resist the taxes put up on us, we got to have kind of a vision of what kind of world we want. What kind of world do we see in front of us and which direction we